Okay, this is the third attempt at making this video. After previous attempts have failed, this is LittleRedHomestead.com. We are slow today on the homestead because of the rain that's been coming through, and everything is all wet. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take apart this guy here because the kids have plugged the drain with something. I don't know what it is. We'll find out eventually. I probably won't show you guys on camera, but what the first step here was to take away the pedestal. This is a pedestal sink, and that once that pedestal is gone, you have to be sure to support the sink body itself with something so it doesn't fall straight out of your wall. The next step that we're going to do is clear out all of this the chrome pieces. Those are no good. They'll last you a few years, and then after that, if you even touch the bottom of it, it will just start leaking. And I honestly don't know why. It's still holding water. It should have collapsed and flooded the place months ago. So I'm going to go ahead and strip this down, and I'll come back when it's all broken apart. One thing I can actually say right up front is make sure you have the right tools. This back nut here came right off with my hand, but the front one is going to require a little more persuasion. I also forgot to mention this top piece, the plastic piece, we're not going to take off other than to check the finger inside of there to make sure that it is not cluttered with mess and debris. So I'll be back when this is all stripped down. Okay, back. Got the elbow stripped off. I'm not going to share with you the prizes that were found in there because that's just not good watching. This piece here may have to stay, but I do have a replacement for this piece in the back. This one is in good condition. So I'm going to go ahead and strip these nuts off, strip the back piece, and what we'll need to have is this kit here. This is a off-the-shelf standard 1.25" kit for a bathroom, and you want to make sure this one has a nice picture. So if your bathroom drain looks like that, the pieces are in the kit. So it's a really nice thing for the beginner that's never done it before. There's instructions on the back. I'm going to toss those. I've done this thousands of times, but for anyone that's up against this project, maybe the first time, it's got step-by-step detailed directions with pictures, so it makes it really easy. I'm going to be right back. Another thing to do that's handy too is save your pieces that come off the project, because this piece inevitably is going to be longer than the one that you have taken off. So you'll have to put the two next to each other and resize it so that it fits. As you can see, this does not come close to lining up with where it needs to be. So I'm going to have to go ahead and shorten this back piece, and then it should all come back together, and we are, after all, going to need the extension. And again, I've got the pieces off. I'm not going to show you the goodies, but what was happening is, like, when you think about like a heart attack, the pipe had closed down, and so instead of draining at full bore, it was really slow. So it was nothing that the kids had wedged down there. It was just over time. So this project was time to do. These pieces, there's really nothing rocket science about lining them up. You can line them up one over the other, like so. If you have a free hand, I've got the camera in my hand. What you can also do is set them end to end, as square as you can make it, and then kind of come across that with something straight, and you just want to mark that really quick, and then you're going to end up cutting it off. Alright, through the magic of video, we have chopped this off in the back. It is roughly the same size. Now this isn't rocket science. If it's within 1/8 of an inch plus or minus, you're going to be okay. The saw to use with that is any fine tooth saw, kind of like a hacksaw or a drywall hole saw, if you have one of those. So I'm going to go put this back in. So this is back together now with the correct size. These two are in alignment once more, but they're still short, so I'm going to have to repurpose that brass downshoot. In order to do that, I'm going to kind of scrape it out, off camera of course. So if you have to reuse parts, any old thing will be working just fine to scrape that out. The only piece on this entire project that I would not ever recommend reusing is this piece here, the trap. 99% of the time this is going to be rusted to the point where you'll put your finger right through it no matter what, or it'll snap in half when you try to tighten your bolts back up. Don't reuse this pipe. Another piece of this project you never want to reuse are these plastic O-rings that come out, because on the old pieces, by the time you take them out, they're stretched and worn in form, and they don't like to reconform to the new shape. With the kit though, there are new ones provided. You can see the difference in these. One still maintains that, if the camera will focus, come on now, put you right there, maybe, give you something better to look at. There we go. If you look closely, you can see the ridge on the one on the left. That's the brand new one. The one on the right is all flattened out, and that will not reconform to grab the edge that it needs to grab. So never reuse the lock nuts here, the old nuts or the washers. It should come with new. If it doesn't, you can pick them up. They're pretty cheap. So it's another thing is it's a really good idea to test fit these to make sure that everyone's going to play well with each other, which is what I've done here. All the parts are where they belong. Nothing's tightened. There's no tension on any of these nuts. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this all back up. Okay, everything is back together and checked out down through. These are new. This has been scraped out and cleaned. This is all set here. If all goes according to plan and I've done my job well, there shouldn't be any leaks when I turn on the water. And we're going to use cold water for testing this. Hot water can be tricky. It will expand the washers and may hide some leaks that you have. What I'm doing now is just running water through the system, and I'm looking on these bottom sides of the pipe here on the low ends. I'm looking for any wetness on there, any wetness here. I'm also looking for wetness around this where it meets the wall and goes in addition to here as well. So inevitably you're going to run into situations like this where I built the bottom portion again but did not get in here yet. I missed that step. So I have taken this out and ran the same butter knife I used to scrape it's a disposable butter knife, which by the way is going in the trash right after this project. But I scraped out here, and it's dark so you can't really see, but there was a mass of whatever that came out of there. So that's all clean now and running clear, and it's time to put it all back together again. The pop-up drain attaches here in the back with a little this guy here, little ball attachment that goes through, and this screws on. It's not a bad idea to keep plumber's Teflon tape to go back around here. That way you don't spring a leak there. And then the rest of this is as simple as just running the rod through. It has a little U-shaped holder that holds the rod in place while it's there. So reconstruction time. So when everything's all put back together, you want to make sure your nuts are tight, but you don't want to get on them a lot, because that has the potential to make it leak as well as any of these that you just don't have the choice of reusing. You don't want to get after those too much. Another good thing to check here is the drain to basin connection. You want to make sure that's snug. If it leaks here, you've got to get out the plumber's putty and remold it in and all that. Back here also you want to make sure it's tight but not super tight, and that you get your pull rod back in place. Another handy tip too is make sure that pull rod is actually plugging the plug. A lot of times when you put it back in, it doesn't quite catch the eye in the pop-up drain and so you'll either float on top and end up getting pulled out and lost, or it won't work at all. So the next step is to once again check it with water, and what we're looking for is any wetness along the pipe here. Before I started back up here, I took a towel and just wiped everything down so it's all dry, top to bottom. What we want to do is let that run down through, make sure we're not having the same buildup problem that we had before. And it looks like we're in business. Find my towel. I've set it down somewhere, but as long as you're seeing no signs of water, you can put your hand on anywhere on the pipe and it's not leaking, especially here where it meets the wall. You want to pay attention to that as well. Here, any downward things that when you're reassembling it, you want to make sure this camera will focus. This ridge here, this pipe extends all the way to that ridge. You want to be able to seat it right there, and that causes the water to go past the actual joint where it's joined, so it is less likely to come back up. As well, here you want to make sure you've got your washer in here since it's going up through, and back here you want to make sure you have a washer since there's a chance that it can come back through. So once all that's done, you would go ahead and remove your support and put your pedestal back carefully. And what I do at this point, I only really do on this type of sink where you're actually physically moving and there's a chance to jostle the piping back there. Well, you didn't see it because I don't have the 6 hands that it would have needed to hold the camera, turn the faucet, dry the pipe, feel the pipe. But what you're going to do is dry that pipe off again after you've got this put back. Any kind of condensation from the cold water test, dry it right off there. You can run hot water down through. And what you're feeling for then is anything that might have opened up, and you'll feel that in the form of moisture on there. And if you still have nothing there, you're back in business, you're good to go. So a couple of tips on this that I can give you is to be patient. Number one, there's going to be a lot of times where you put it together and you have to take it back apart and only to put it back together again. There's a chance to have drips. There's a very good chance to have drips, so you want to be patient, find those, take care of them. There's also a chance to unseat the connection to the basin itself. That's no big deal. Just if it does, you loosen it up, you scrape that down at the drain on the top, and you repack it with plumber's putty and tighten that nut back down, and you should be good to go. But above all, be patient. And if you're doing this for somebody else, make sure you wear gloves. This is my own family, so I'm not too worried about that, but gloves are important. And wash your hands when you're done. Hope you find this helpful. I'll be trying to put more of these up at a regular basis. You can come by the blog to read, usually each day, about everything. And you can follow us on all the major socials, the Twitters, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, that kind of thing, at Little Red Homestead. Thank you.